Welcome. Listeners found their way here. We were just talking about the Texas secession thing and the National Guard, and you had this scenario of what might have happened or could have happened if he had federalized the National Guard. And I was wondering where that scenario came from. Like, if you had any reason to think that it would go down that way. Because it seems so far-fetched to me. Like, if you were writing some sensational Hollywood movie, you might come up with a scene like that.
I mean, people also thought like the Kent State Massacre was a far-fetched idea until it happened. Like, this is just what happens when you have like high tensions.
But why would you assume a Kent State would happen randomly at some university again?
I don't think it's random. I that's my thing. I don't think it's random. I think like if you basically have two opposing forces, or two forces potentially in conflict, and you have the National Guard, who it should be noted, they're not like professional soldiers. These are like regular Joe. You know, these people aren't necessarily trained to be in high conflict domestic issues, you know, very well.
So you don't trust the National Guard?
No, I do. I'm saying that I think that the situation is a powder keg, and like while I don't think that like a powder keg explodes on its own, it doesn't take much to light a powder keg. It takes one small mishap to light, and that's what.
And you think it's going to come from the National Guard? Like, they're the ones you don't trust not to ignite the powder keg. Hey.
Oh, I mean, for what it's worth, it could come from Border Patrol as well. But I mean, I do think that in that scenario, I lean a little more towards the National Guard being more of where the powder keg is, because that's where you would have more likely the idea of mixed loyalties. You would have a lot of basically just your average person being confused about what's going on. Yeah, like that's my whole thing. I don't think that like National Guardsmen and women are like, I don't know, statistically more likely to instigate a conflict or something. I do just think that because it had they been federalized, that given the current political climate and the confusion, I think a lot of the confusion surrounding the situation that's probably where you likely find where the conflict would light. But that's all speculation at this point, because it's not going to happen now.
It sure sounded like it. Hi, Hank. Welcome. What's up?
Hey, Jeff. I'm just trying to use my job coaching services and just getting nowhere, so I'm just putting them all up against each other till one of them breaks down and actually does something useful. So
I'm trying to figure out if I even want to know more. Did something happen last night?
Something happened last night. But no, it's developing right now. Pretty much just dragging more people on the list, on the, I guess, email thread. So it's probably resolved sometime next week. But it's just, we're trying to get out of the loop of them pointing fingers and saying who didn't do what, or I wasn't passionate enough, or whatever. So it probably resolved sometime next week. But I'm just the ball's getting bigger of people on the thread.
Okay.
Interesting. But before we started, you had something you were going to comment on the Texas thing, Jeff. I think did you get to it or lose the thought?
I did.
That was a question. I don't know if you lost the thought or.
I don't even remember having the thought.
Well, so, yeah, the Texas trying to break. Texas is trying to break from the union again.
No. No, they're not gonna. Yeah. Like I was saying, like I was explaining before, there's a lot of complicated geopolitical reasons as to why they couldn't. I know people have been talking about how, Texas oil imports could like sustain its whole economy, but like in the, again, unlikely event that they were to successfully and peacefully secede, the United States would embargo Texas, meaning that all of the United States' allies would embargo Texas. The United States Navy would impose a blockade around Texas, meaning they couldn't import or export oil, and their economy, because they're an American state, their economy is almost entirely geared towards like an internal like service economy, so it heavily depends on imports, and they just collapse.
Not necessarily. It's just they had to buy their way out. So yeah,
I mean, with what money? It's the problem. Like,
what money?
Because also every single big tech company that's like stationed in Texas would immediately leave. That, like, again, United States embargo, they would all the companies who would leave, because nobody wants to be in a state that's embargoed by America.
Well, Puerto Rico's not embargoed by America, and they're not a state either, but they're part of the kind of in the union. We don't need a passport to travel there, so it's a kind of thing that does exist.
But Texas wouldn't want to be a territory of the United States. Being a territory of the United States is actually probably worse than being a state. Puerto Rico doesn't even have representation, or doesn't have reasonable representation in the United States Congress. They do technically have representation, but I would argue that it's not sufficient.
Yeah, well, that's a downgrade path, and eventually they could cut ties, but I don't see it. But it's not like Texas can fight one win and get out. If I could, what I could see sooner is like a state breaks apart and they'll use something similar.
Take care, Frank.
Like if California turned into more than broke apart into Jefferson, I could see a similar thing happening where Texas breaks down or something, and one just falls out of union.
Yeah, California would also have similar this isn't a Texas specific thing. And any state that attempted to secede, no matter how supposedly great their economy is, just wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I'm saying something lower than secession, like a state turning into two states. If it's something like that happened, then I would say there is at least a path to succession without violence. But
Frank, that's a big assumption to assume my boobs are fake. These are 100% real. Yeah. Okay.
But with states, you really need to just it's all about force, to be honest. I know you read Max Weber and stuff. With states, it's pretty much all about force and power. So you either have to have a lot of resources and you buy your way out, or you can have a lot of guns and you can shoot your way out.
Well, the problem is it's more complicated than that in today's world, because like even if, say for instance, Texas could, economically support itself, I mean, there's nothing really to stop the United States government from just going, no, you can't, and then having the military occupy Texas. If Texas had the military strength to resist that, which A, they don't, but B, if they did, then the U.S. would economically ruin them. There's no secession is not a serious. Anyone who is arguing for secession is not a serious person with serious beliefs.
That's why I don't understand why people are talking so much about it. It's like an alternate history conversation or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly just that. I mean, Americans on the whole are kind of stupid, so it's made its way into the mainstream sort of consciousness, despite being stupid, or you might argue because it's stupid.
Yeah, I would say because it's stupid.
But there was that congressional hearing with the CEOs of a bunch of social media sites
Oh no, I didn't.
On
What happened there?
Oh yeah, so it's on like the child uh, child sexual abuse stuff that goes on in a lot of these sites, and about how the argument is that
Social
they
media
had,
sites like
yes,
Twitter and Instagram and
yeah, they
Facebook.
specifically called in. It was Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, um, Discord, and one other one.
Oh,
Actually, a funny thing. Some of
hey, Jeff.
the CEOs, when they got subpoenaed, they just immediately went to the hearing. Like, I think the Twitter CEO, the TikTok CEO, and Facebook, I think, just went voluntarily. But there is Discord and a couple other ones where they didn't immediately go. They had to get like subpoenaed again, and the Discord CEO, the FBI had to go to his house to like deliver the subpoena personally to basically say, no, you're coming to this hearing. Like, yeah, yeah, it was very, very
And that was
interesting.
today. They had the hearing.
No, it was, I think it was either yesterday or the day before. I remember I saw a bunch of stuff about it recently. The problem is we associate Marx with Soviets and worse, and he never met or encouraged these dorks. I mean, that's true, but it's also kind of a non sequitur. Like, if people want to associate Marx with the Soviet Union, they can, and honestly, they don't even have. There's a pretty good reason. The Soviets did allege to be Marxist-Leninists. It's basically just, you have to make sure that the person you're talking with, has an IQ above room temperature, so that they can differentiate between, the
Idols of the
philosophy.
marketplace. The y'all can come up and fight about it too. By the way, anybody who wants to.
Yeah, please. Who's currently in violation of the 14th, among other treasonous acts. Remove him. I mean, Uncle Fatty is like right. Like, I don't disagree that Abbott is in violation.
Well, he's not in violation until they find him in violation.
Well, they
charge
did.
him with something.
Well, the Supreme Court already found, like, that's part of the issue, was that the Supreme Court found that Texas's actions are in violation. That preventing
with the razor wire.
Yeah.
But I thought this was about the social media companies.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I was sorry. I was responding to Uncle Fatty. He mentioned something.
Oh, okay. He's still on the topic.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, if people want to come on and scream at me about how communism's evil, I mean, feel free. That's why I'm here. The more people that scream at me, I hope the more eyes that get on this channel. So,
or y'all can scream at me about the gay or the Satanism or whatever else you like to scream at me at, or you can scream at Hank for sometimes his poor fashion sense or whatever else irritates you about him.
Or scream at Jeff for being a dirty liberal.
A classical liberal.
Yeah, liberals are liberals. I don't think there's actually that much of a distinction between like modern day liberalism and classical liberalism, other than like the social aspects. Yeah.
Well, the what people mean by liberalism does seem to have shifted since even in my lifetime, my generation. And I did that thing the other day, that Jonathan Haidt article where he had that John Stuart Mill quote on what liberalism is, and the Oxford, the Cambridge definition of liberalism. And that is what I know as classical liberalism, because the modern progressive stuff is not. In fact, we showed a graph the other day about people that believe it's okay to suppress speech or use violence to stop speech or talk over people, etc., was much higher the younger the generations got than it was in my generation. And so that's an example of an illiberal practice that has become increasingly accepted. That I would say distinguishes the modern version of liberalism from something like classical liberalism, which was more along the lines of the Cambridge definition and the John Stuart Mill quote.
Broadly agree. I do think there's some
good because I'm right.
Well, no, I mean, I think there's like some specifics that we disagree on. Like, I don't think, talking over people is illiberal. I do think the suppression of free speech.
To shut down a speaker, like the ones that go to the universities and then they get shut down by the class and they can't speak.
I don't think that's incompatible with the classical liberal idea.
Because you're in the generation that it's increasing in. So that you are normal for your generation and I'm normal for my generation.
Yeah, I consider myself a neoliberal, but I like to keep the stupid people talking. So,
Jeff, play video games. It's not worth it. Seriously, these
really
conversations happen on here all the time.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah,
and I'm still laughing. Thinking about I-Fi. Leading us in a practice run of a peace
practice
stream.
run. Yeah.
But
I mean, definitely, definitely, Jeff. If ever you get a real hankering and don't have anything better to do, come on and talk to it. I'd love to talk about it. But no, if you have literally anything better to do, anything else, it is probably more productive.
The last stop stream.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not that stream, just that conversation.
There is a Discord. You can email me or find me on Twitter at the name that's under my Gen X Jeff, the Primal Hex name. It's also on Gmail. You can contact me, or if you give us your Discord name.
Or if you come in the private chat. Come in the private chat.
Yeah, you could hop backstage and they'll give you access to the private chat, and I could put the Discord link there.
Yeah.
And if you're not too busy, you can come up on panel.
Ben Shapiro ruins everything. Yeah, except for that one Tom McDonald rap.
Did y'all see where Rowan called in to Benjamin? I mean, what's his face? Destiny.
Oh, did he really?
They talked for like 7 or 8 minutes. They talked about the rap.
Why can't I hear you guys?
Destiny played Rowan's rap on his show.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then they called in the next day.
We stand in Destiny. Oh, we can hear you, Chopper Jeff.
Yep, I fixed it. I can hear you guys now.
Oh, hey, Jeff. I feel bad that this is what's...
Oh, no. I need...
video games. That sounds so much more interesting.
I'll play video games later. You guys aren't going to... you're not going to stream for hours and hours and hours upon end. So, I'll have time for that later. Yeah. But I felt...
Or you could do what I do and just play video games while the stream's happening.
Oh, man. I don't have the focus to do that.
I don't have the focus to not.
I'm going to start Hyper Rogue. Yeah.
But, I get why people appreciate and would desire the idealistic communist society, because it is ideally a utopia. But with communism, haven't we seen examples before that haven't worked out very well? And
so, to lead off some of this, it's worth noting that I am primarily an anarcho-communist. I'm not pro central planning, and that's most of the examples of communism. The biggest examples that we've seen in reality have been via central planning, and I don't think that that's good.
What is central planning? Does that mean like state controlled or government controlled? When you say anarcho, that sounds like anarchy. So,
well, yes, it is anarchy. Anarchy is about, as a left anarchist, when I talk about anarchy, I'm mostly talking about the two things. First off, the dissolution of the state, which is the state is a institution that has a monopoly on legitimized violence. And then secondarily, well, actually probably primarily, anarchy means a dissolution of unjust hierarchies.
I have a question. What's the difference between a just hierarchy and an unjust hierarchy?
That's a
they say it is.
Well, I mean, that's a detail that like we would have to socially, talk about. I can give some examples
let's
of things.
socially talk about it because I'm
curious.
No.
I can
determine.
Yeah,
well,
I'm wondering about the legitimized violence because that sounds like you mean like a military.
As well, yes. A military is a form of legitimized violence.
Okay.
Though broadly, it's more talking about like the idea that like the state could, for instance, force you to pay taxes at the point of a gun. The idea would be that in an anarchist society, the functions of a government would be done voluntarily. Again, it is explicitly a utopian
So we're
ideal.
still in Talcott territory.
Well, and let me ask you this. I mean,
Joshua Jones territory.
Yes.
I pay my taxes begrudgingly, but voluntarily. They don't have to put a gun to me to pay them. And
no, but if you didn't pay them, then they would put a gun to you.
They'd probably just put a lien on my property, and then
that's a threat of violence. Yes.
But
I'm using the term "put a gun to you" as a sort of vague.
It sounds like a little bit hyperbolic at the moment, but I mean, eventually they would. If I refuse to leave, they would come get me with guns.
What I do mean is that the use of force is only legitimized via the state institution, and I don't believe that a state institution should have a sole monopoly on the use of violence.
Oh, so you believe in a competition of violence, a perpetual war?
No, I believe
that's what it sounds like, Hank.
No, I believe. I guess also, I would assume that by calling this utopian, that would imply this, but this isn't like a thing that is going to happen anytime soon.
I'm
don't
talking
understand.
about. You want a monopoly of violence or a competition of violence? A monopoly of violence called state. A competition is called war.
No, I want a society in which violence is not a primary method for achieving goals. It is explicitly utopian. Well,
it's not. I just said like they'd put liens on your house. They'd give you notifications.
That's a threat of violence.
It's the last resort. Is always violence.
It's a threat of violence. Threats of violence are, I believe, not good. I believe that a society where people voluntarily do these things is a better one, which is why I advocate for that. I don't think that's achievable in the current state of things. What I'm talking about is a post-cat. It would necessarily have to be a I'm not even sure if immediately post-capitalism you could do this. I do think this can't happen under capitalism.
Post-human. Post-human maybe.
I don't think so. Humans voluntarily help each other all the time.
Okay.
It is not
a microcosm example like a project that's meets your definition of anarcho communism in a small level.
Yeah, there are plenty. I think usually these are like small interactions, right? So like you go to your neighbor and ask for a cup of sugar, and they give it to you. There's no implicit threat of violence unless you're implying violence via this. But when you do that, you are asking without the threat of violence.
Now, what happens if they say, no, I'm not giving you any of my sugar. Go get a job and earn your own sugar.
I mean, they certainly can. I would argue that in that a necessity for my anarchist utopia would be that people don't seek to how to harm each other in this way.
Well, it's not harming you. I'm just not giving you any of my sugar. You can go get a job and get your own sugar.
Yes, what I'm saying is I'm extrapolating this. This is one example that
but
is
that's
extrapolated
on
further.
The microscopic level. That's not any good. I mean, you have something persistent, something that I could find on the map or via my web browser.
Do you mean like maybe there's a community bag of sugar that everybody can borrow from that gets refilled
That's
by?
nasty. I wouldn't want to use that.
Yeah, if something like that,
everybody pays a sugar tax to.
That is a potential solution. I don't know the exact solutions to all of these problems that people in a future utopian anarchist society would choose. But like,
it's not really anarcho though, because there's still some structure to it.
Anarchist doesn't mean without structure.
Yeah, it means
not in the political philosophy use of the term.
Okay.
Perhaps in the common parlance of the term, it just means doing whatever the fuck you want, and damn everyone else. But we're not using it in common parlance. We're talking about political philosophy. So yeah.
Oh, bummer! I forgot to restream this on my channel.
Oh, instead of video games.
Yeah, and I get the idea, because communism provides like a safety net for the entire society. So like the least of us is the best of us, but then also the best of us is also the least of us, and that's my main argument against communism.
It's also worth noting that I don't believe that you can have any form of successful sort of communism without like really robust democracy. A robust democracy is I would argue not only a necessity for my utopian society, but I do think for a good functioning society in the modern day, you have to have a robust democracy.
And by that you mean the ability for the people to be heard via their voices, via votes, or what have you?
Some form of a form of representative democracy. Yeah, no, I know. We have that in places. When I talk about an anarchist utopia, it's in some ways it's similar to how Trotsky's idea of permanent revolution. The idea that you can't just do a revolution in one country and then create a perfect society within that one country, because capitalism is so big, because it is so far-reaching, that
because it's always proven to be the best system.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. I think you need to make your peace with capitalism.
Well, capitalism hasn't always existed, and neither has any system.
Yeah, we're not going back to pre-capitalist days, and there's no post-capitalist system that's superior to it.
Lib, have you heard the term voting with your wallet?
Yes, I have heard that term before.
I don't know why you
misleading.
I don't know why you put so much energy into these imaginary societies that are not ever going to exist in your lifetime, instead of something you could be doing real life today to make.
I think it's about compromise. He doesn't want to compromise.
Well, no, I do. Okay, so it's worth noting that also, I do. I actively am active in American political life with people who ideologically are very, very, very dissimilar to me, because I recognize that this anarchist society, this ideal that I look at, isn't achievable now, but until we get there, there are still people who will be living and suffering and dying, and I think that until we achieve something better, we should be striving to make our current system better. And as an American in America, I think I actually do have quite a bit of leeway to do that, even within our current system. Our current system is actually set up so that it can
what
be.
needs improving?
I mean, a lot of things. A lot of things. For instance, there are right now Americans who are having to ration life-saving medicine because the price is astronomical and they are poor and can't afford it. There are other, and that's not even like a thing that we need to go to like anarchism to find solutions for. There are other Western liberal democracies that have found solutions to these. And all we have to do is find a way to implement our own variation of solutions to solve these kinds of problems.
That sounds like universal healthcare would solve that.
Yeah. Well, it would help address the problem. It wouldn't solve the problem of people not being able to afford medication, but it would definitely help address it on a wide scale. Yes.
But don't we have the process in place already to do that? Is there
We do.
something about the process itself we need to change?
I mean, our democracy. I would say that there are parts of our democracy that need reform, but I would say that about and anything, like for instance, I think like gerrymandering is a particular issue in America that I think we ought to be paying more attention to. And again, this is not just a Republican thing. Democrats also gerrymander, and it's
Well,
also
some
bad when they
states
do it.
Some states do a third party method or something. So it looks like it's at the state level
Yeah, it's at the state level.
that it's being addressed.
Well,
Sometimes it's
not
being, yeah, it's not being addressed everywhere, and that's until it's actually being addressed everywhere. I'm gonna advocate for us to do so to
At
make
the
things
federal
better.
level.
I mean, it's harder to. There are some things you can do at the federal level. Most of it has at the state level, though. I do agree. Most of it is just. I think what it is most of it is that there are things that are currently being done at the state level that I don't think should be done at the state level. For instance, districts being like redrawn and stuff. I'm not a fan of states having almost nearly full leeway to redraw they don't have full leeway, but they have because then you have the people in power in those states redrawing the people, like reshuffling around the people who elect them.
How
And
would you have it done?
I mean, I would have people who aren't like in those like state, governments drawing them, a sort of a neutral third-party federal government drawing the districts rather than the states themselves do so.
What about the right of the states to self-determine?
Well, I'm not sold that states should have complete unequivocal rights to self-determine everything about their state. For instance, if there was a single state that wanted to, for instance, reinstate slavery, I would not be like, well, that's just their right to self-determine.
Well, no, they can't. They can't just make up things that are against our current laws. But something
But
like
they-
the
but they have-
there's
but
no
they have- but
reason
they-
a state shouldn't like. There's no reason not to allow the state to have sovereignty over that.
Yes, there is, because the federal government is responsible for ultimately for the people in those states. And if the people in those states' voices are being silenced due to gerrymandering, then that's an issue. That's like a federal issue.
So, marijuana is still federally illegal, but it's legal in several states now.
Yes.
Now, in your position, you would follow the federal law instead of the state law. So you still would be on board with the federal government still having the authority to make marijuana illegal.
No, they should have. The federal government should have the ability to regulate them, but I don't think they should have. I think they should decriminalize most drugs, but
well, and specifically on marijuana, but because you're speaking general that the federal government should have authority over the states, but
yeah,
and it's not speaking about weed specifically, but
yeah,
but just in general, in this communist thing is it would still be the central federal government that would still have say over individual state rights.
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
the central federal government that would be made up of representatives of people from all the states. Yes, because we're not, each state isn't like distinct. Like we are one country. We're not 50 little countries. The states.
But we are 50 little states. So it's the balance between federal and state power.
Yeah,
that I think we disagree on.
I'm of the opinion that the state federal distinction ought be one of it should be more about delegation of duties rather than like the state having its own.
Well, we definitely disagree, and that's one of those things where I never know how to separate the abstract, like just academic conversation, from conversation that is grounded in anything practical. And that's the one of them, because I'm not sure how realistic what you're talking about is, and if there's a way you could seriously advocate for it.
I don't even really see how much difference it is.
Wave a magic wand, fantasy universe type.
I mean, it's not
I know how realistic it is. He can't give me a microcosm example bigger than Stefan Molyneux or just one trade.
Oh, because there's not any. They try all the time. Robert, I don't know. It depends each day. Probably a couple of hours.
I'm still stuck on the fact that I think it sounds like you believe the first mode of implementation of any policies is violence or something, and it's not though, because you get a warning letter first.
It is either implicitly or explicitly violence.
I mean,
that's how states function. That's how every state, basically, in recorded history, has functioned. Because that's kind of the point.
You're missing the point, though. It's not the first method. They don't come to your house with guns.
Oh well, sure. It's not the first method. Sure,
well, that's what you're saying. It's the first method, but any type of enforcement is implicitly violent. If you're going to enforce even your anarcho thing, it's going to be implicitly violent. Even more so with people who don't have that extra layer of control or the capitalism. So I don't. Yeah, it doesn't seem anywhere practical, and even a lot of what you're describing isn't even different than what we're already doing.
You just described. Okay, so first off, my anarchist utopia would not be capitalist. First off, like capitalism wouldn't be a consideration.
So it'd be a bunch of guys borrowing sugar from each other, singing "Kumbaya."
I mean, it's more complicated than that, but I mean, if you want to like boil it down, kind of, yeah. I mean, that is boiling it down to the point of incoherence, like, which is, I think, the point you were getting at. But like, there's a reason why I'm not trying to boil it down to incoherence, because if boiling it down to incoherence loses things.
I disagree. We didn't lose anything because we don't have a microcosm example to point to yet.
I mean, if you want like an example of, this isn't like, it's not a perfect example of like of my perfect, anarcho-communist utopia, but the unincorporated territory of Rojava is, I think, an interesting case study to look at a government but stateless
commune in the
society.
desert that's about to get wiped out.
Yeah,
by all the neighboring countries that don't want it there.
Well, by all the neighboring countries that hate the ethnic group that makes up the majority of that area, yes.
Yeah, and so was the Chaz, the autonomous zone.
That's what I keep thinking about too. I was thinking about the Chaz and the Chaps.
Chaz, I don't think ever. The problem is Chaz never achieved a point of like even potential independence, whereas Rojava is independent from the states that surround it.
Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone wasn't autonomous?
Yes, it's people can call themselves whatever they want, despite not being that. Just the same way as the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea is not that.
Let's compare what you want to something I want, like ending copyright. Public domain exists, open source exists. We adopting abandoned project exists. All we need to do is like pull back copyright enforcement a lot, and we have it. So I have actual examples we can look at.
Are you for the actual elimination of copyright regulations, or do you just want it to be less so?
Far less so, but I'll push for none of it as a point of negotiation.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess I'm not opposed necessarily to either one of those, other than like in the immediate sense, it's more about how do you do so while also respecting the fact that we live in a capitalist society and copyright is a pretty important protective structure for capitalism, for the protection of profit.
So no, capitalism doesn't protect profit; it's also protect limited resources. But patterns are an unlimited resource. So
Billy, can you show your camera so we can know you're not a troll?
Yeah.
You don't have to show it on stage, but just backstage.
So capitalism works just fine with or without copyright. China doesn't really enforce copyright inside their borders, so it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that our copyright currently basically just it primarily protects like larger like corporations over like your average.
I'm not sure
like,
that's
individual.
true. Because I mean, if you look at YouTube and creators on there, their stuff is it has some copyright protection. I mean, I know I can name off one situation right now where someone's video was used to do some stuff, and then that person managed to put strikes on those people because they didn't want that being used for that. So
yeah,
I mean,
no, I fully. I'm under our current system. I'm fine with copyright existing. It kind of necessarily has to. What about the little guys? I mean, yeah, like Uncle, I do think that copyright in our current society serves a function. It primarily serves to function people with more money, because our system is capitalist. People with more money do have more ability to engage with it. But I mean, that's a problem. That's a capitalism problem. Like as long as we have capitalism, copyright does serve a purpose. I do think it should be maybe not less. I do think there are issues with companies abusing copyright, aka like Disney, but that's more of that's talking about like reforming the copyright system, which yeah. In fact, I think Hank's example it perfectly aligns with mine, that under our current system, Hank is fine with copyright existing, just with some pretty significant changes. But obviously in an ideal system where you wouldn't have to have copyright protections, you would get rid of them. And yeah, so I agree. We're not at a position where copyright doesn't serve a purpose. Copyright still serves an important purpose in our systems.
I just yeah, man. I mean, I'm not even really sure where we're differentiating between the current system and what you're proposing in many ways, because
I mean,
when
the major
to it,
there's a couple major like differences. I think one of the big ones is the there not being capitalism any longer. But that's, you know, again, I'm under no illusions that I think like capitalism can be destroyed by a single revolution or anything, or even I don't even think a violent revolution would destroy capitalism as it stands, because I think a violent revolution wouldn't lead to a better world. I think a violent revolution would just lead to for lack of a better word, fascists from gaining more power. which is why I advocate for reform. Yeah.
It's just reform, huh? I mean, and I get it. The system that's in place isn't perfect, and
yeah. When I'm talking about anarcho-communism, I'm painting my target. I'm saying this is the society that I believe that we should shoot for, because you have to have like a direction you're going, and I think that doing things like being more pro-democracy, supporting workers' rights, supporting progressive ideals, I think that pushes us towards that target. I don't think it pushes us that much closer, but
all of those things can still exist and there still be capitalists.
Why is your target painted in such a remote, unrealistic place? And I feel the same way about Jack Talcott and his target. It's not a bad target, but it's not painted over anything anybody's going to hit in our lifetimes.
In fact, I have a special criticism for Jack Talcott. A lot of things he advocates for, he says it's for other people, not him. Like no secrets. He can literally take all his secrets, release them today. He's not doing it because he thinks it's a bad idea for him, but good idea for other people.
Hey, MoOse.
Hey, MoOse.
Yeah, so that's what I want is why that target of all targets? It seems like there are more realistic targets that you could invest
well, I mean,
in.
yeah, I mean, I think I do, because I vote, I advocate people to vote. By the way, if you're American, actually, even if you're not American, if you live in a democracy, go vote, go participate in your democracy. I don't care who you support, but you should participate in your democracy if you have the ability to. I do advocate for
should undocumented immigrants vote?
That does lead us into a slightly different conversation, but I can.
How is it even a conversation? Is people aren't citizens of that country? Why would they be? Why would I have the right to go vote in Canada or Mexico? So why would they have the right to go vote here?
Hey,
so
Jeff.
the distinction that I'm making is that I believe that fundamentally people have a right where they live. I do think that our current citizenship process,
even if they come there illegally.
Down here in Mexico, you're not even allowed to go to any of their political rallies if you're American.
That's
sure,
crazy.
But we're not,
that's crazy.
But we're not talking about Mexico. We're talking about America.
Well,
no, but he brought Mexico
No, you
up.
said even if you're not in America, you should go vote.
No. Even if you're not an American. Okay, my apologies. I missed.
Oh, that's why I asked if you meant undocumented immigrant. Even if you're not American, you should vote. Like, don't you only want American citizens voting?
That's outrageous because we don't have documentation or like history of those people. Like, you know, when you're born in the States, like you get entered into the social security system and whatnot. And how do we even know who's voting? Then people in power could just pay for influence to make up fake people to have them vote for you. So it destroys the entire integrity of the system.
No, you're right. That's my bad. I'm sorry. I was going off a little bit on my utopian ideological bent. No, I don't think people who aren't American citizens shouldn't vote. Now, fundamentally, I do believe that people who live in a place should be able to determine, you know, how they are ruled. But in current day, you know, how that works is if you are an American citizen and live in America, then you get to vote. And if you're not an American citizen, even if you live in America, you don't get to vote. And that's, you know, how it works. It's how it has to work. In fact, so yeah, I do think that our immigration system needs some like massive reform at basically every level. But yeah, it's a slightly different topic.
Well,
Americans should vote in America. Canadians should vote in Canada.
I mean, I agree with you 100% there. And I agree with a lot of what you have said, and I still am failing to see the difference between what you're proposing and the system that's already in place. Because we
the
already have a
system-
democracy. We can already vote with our money, and the first force of enforcement has never been violence in this country. I mean,
I wouldn't say never, but
you don't see people getting escorted or evicted at gunpoint. Yeah, the sheriff does have to deliver eviction notices, but you don't see that all the time. I mean, you got people who have their, who hold out or whatever, and they have to be forcibly removed from things, but it's not that common. And people are legally evicted or told to move or told to do something. It's usually just, okay, yeah, well, they have to do it.
yes, under threat of violence.
So if we do it before the threat of violence, what if they just say no?
Yeah, it's kind of like okay, so
Well-
if someone walks up to you and like flashes a gun and says, "Give me your wallet," they are not directly threatening you, but they are implying violence. And so if, say for instance, you say, "What? No, I'm not giving you my wallet," and then they shoot you, they have now done violence. But that doesn't mean that them flashing their gun at you wasn't them threatening
That's
the violence.
premeditated violence right there.
Right.
because
I
you
mean,
pull out
flashing the
on
gun,
someone.
that is kind of, intent. Like
Well,
if somebody flashed a gun,
Yeah, and the intent in, like, say for instance, an eviction thing is follow whatever we're telling you, or else. I'm not
but
saying
there's
that.
not. They don't send you a picture of a gun on the letter. They just say, "Hey, you haven't paid your rent. You need to get out."
I'm aware. I used what's called an analogy. In that I talked about how it's the implication of violence.
Yeah, but it's a bad analogy because if you ever take a gun out and point it at someone, you have the intent to harm them, regardless of what you
You're
think.
gonna get shot if you do that.
Hang on. I don't think so. I've shown my gun to people before without any even like.
You pointed your
intent.
gun straight at somebody. And
Oh,
said,
no.
"Give me
I'm
your
talking. I'm
wallet."
saying like if like a mugger walks up to you and like like raises their shirt, flashes their belt line and they've got a gun
Never
and they
happened
say,
to me.
"Give me your wallet."
If they did that to a police officer, they'd get shot, bro.
I'm saying if they
They
did that
did to me, they'd
oh my
get
god.
I mean, I understand what you're trying to.
You understand that I'm attempting to give an analogy, which is not to say that they are not literally the same thing, but they are analogous enough situations to get across the point.
Well, I'm trying to determine the root policy here without all these analogies and that. Can you just, because we asked you before about a microcosm example, and you were like, if your neighbor wanted to borrow some sugar, say you go to your neighbor, you want to borrow sugar, do you flash your gun at him? If you ask your neighbor for sugar, is that an implication of violence if he's not going to give it
No,
to you?
that would be an implication of violence. Yes, I would argue that's an implication of violence. I mean, I'm sure.
Well, yeah,
I'm sure
if you flashed your gun at him when you asked him for some sugar.
Yeah, then you are implying that if you do not give me the sugar,
But it sounds like you're saying
force.
even if you just ask for sugar, you're asking for violence.
No, I'm saying
Like if
when
I'm telling you haven't paid your rent to get out,
okay,
you're saying that I'm being violent because I'm telling you need to pay your rent or get out.
So
you're saying my resort is violence.
In the analogy, the mugger is the state. It's not like an individual. The mugger is supposed to be analogous to the state, not just a random person. Does that help?
I mean,
I'm specifically talking about the way in which states have a monopoly on that violence. Now, I am of the opinion that I believe that the majority, if not all, human conflicts can be solved without violence. But like to do that, you have to not have a state. And also you have to, there are a number of other prerequisites to this anarchist society.
I mean, it sounds like there'd still be a state, just not the one that you want.
No, you'd have a government, not a state. A government. You'd have like
we've got a government now.
Yes, but our government now is also a state, which I take issue with. But
yikes.
I mean, also I understand that in our current society, you can't not have a state.
Hey, quick segue real fast.
Seems unanarcho.
What's up with Efi sitting in the chat? I thought he was going off into the wilderness like 2 weeks ago. We had a going away party for him, and he's still here.
This is the wilderness.
Was that a
Still here.
party? It was kind of a party.
Oh, he's
I like Efi.
No, I think I replaced with the robot Efi, and he took on his form. So,
I like
I was
Fi too.
sad. I didn't want him to go. I'm glad he's still here.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's like herpes. He lasts forever.
Yeah.
Do you call her daddy when she pegs you? That's what I call my girlfriend when she pegs me.
I just feel like if we, we should have a safety net in society, which is somewhat socialistic, communistic, or whatever, however you want to say it. Like there should be a place people can go get a job, and people can go and get food. And
we have some of those systems today.
We have those in place now. So even what we have now isn't even 100% capitalism, because 100% capitalism is like, the monopoly board. So we have a healthy mix in this country between capitalism and socialism, and in many places. And there's a lot of places where it does need reform, like you identified.
I'm not convinced that it's a healthy mix, but I do agree that we have some systems in place to help people. I do think some of those systems need, again, reform. But yeah, like I'm all for using our existing systems to help people.
We can't stop innovating, and that is the American spirit, the thing that we've had in the 60s and 70s and even the 80s, and we've lost a lot of it. We've lost a lot of it because of our outsourcing of all our manufacturing to China and so forth, and the idea that everything America did was wrong, but without we still have to acknowledge like how far we've come with civil rights and everything.
But yeah,
else.
I mean, I'm not an American diabolist. I don't think like America is the worst thing ever. Like, I do think there are definitely worse actors than the United States in the world. Like much worse actors. Russia is one in particular. I mean, China is meh. China's improving, but I don't know how much they will actually be able to improve with the CCP in place. They're relatively authoritarian, and I mean, China's always been relatively authoritarian, but
they have the Great Firewall still. That's why you really don't run into that many Chinese people online. It's because they can't have this sort of discussion. They can't even engage each other like this. They can't engage the rest of the world.
I agree. I am not a fan of the state of China, the Chinese state. So yeah, if anyone wanted to be like, oh, but you love China. No, I don't. I also don't like the Soviet Union. Should I just go on the world tour of states that I don't like?
I all of them because you're an anarchist, right?
I was wondering.
He's not really an anarchist. I don't buy it.
I mean, that's fine. That's your opinion. That's just like your opinion,
Jeff
man.
had a question though.
Is there anything that you have liked, or are you the type that is going to find something wrong with whatever's in front of you? Or have there been times or things about this country that you've liked?
Oh, tons. Oh my God. I mean, okay, so we can go back to, we can start at like its inception. I do think that a lot of the ideals that a lot of the founding fathers at least espoused, a lot of those Enlightenment ideals, I think, were not only like good and like valuable, but I think are necessary for a good and functioning democracy. There were a lot of the founding fathers who basically wanted to push really hard for the Bill of Rights. Not just, I know the common thing is like, oh, it's actually a lot of the southern states that wanted the Bill of Rights because they wanted to enshrine slavery within the Bill of Rights, and that is true, but that's not even close to all of the founding fathers. Most of them wanted the Bill of Rights because they understood that authoritarian governments governments first off aren't perfectly representative. Even the most ideal democracy isn't going to be perfectly representative, and having bills of rights for citizens, not just states, was like vitally important to prevent government overreach. I think that was one of the things that was not only very noble, but like just broadly good. We can talk about FDR's reforms. I think the New Deal was something that was hugely influential in turning America into not only a superpower, but like improving the lives of the vast majority of Americans. I can find problems with all of these things again, but like I can also find good things about a lot of these things. Yeah.
Hey, Machine Lies, how's it going?
Hey, Machine.
Welcome, Machine.
Hey, what's going on, guys? You guys doing okay?
Chilling. Yeah, I really thought that I would disagree with you a lot more on stuff, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we really part ways on ideologies here.
I'm anti-capitalist.
You're anti-capitalist, so me owning my own car and owning my own property is something, and then also owning other property and renting it out to people is something that you would be against then.
Some of those things, yes. Other of those things, no.
Okay, so which things are you against in the things that I listed?
I am against you individually renting out property.
So
that was mostly it. Having your own personal like effects, like your car, or having like a piece of land that's yours, especially in America, particularly in America. I mean, now I do think there are pitfalls in all of these things that we'd have to like quibble about. But broadly speaking, yeah, owning your own things that you use is not only fine, it's good. It makes society better.
So he couldn't rent out his property? Why would people give that up to live in your utopia?
Because fundamentally, the issue that I take with capitalism is that things are fundamentally about profit over. So if you want to talk about, I guess, pure unadulterated capitalism.
Question for you, Lib.
I just want to know why I can't rent from him. Like he has that extra property.
Yeah, he needs a place to live, and I have a place that he can stay.
If I want to pay whatever price he's asking, why that's not between two adults in a capitalist society?
Well, in a capitalist society, sure, that's fine.
But it seems like I'd be giving up some freedoms to live in your society. It's not more free; it's less free. So I'm trying to figure out how that.
Well, first off, there are different kinds of freedoms. Like there have been societies where you were free to kill other people, but that doesn't mean that those societies are better.
But I don't think our freedom to transact a business arrangement.
Right. I mean, isn't it more heinous to say you have to live in the street because I just can't rent out this empty spot to you?
This more gets into I think this actually has my issue with renting is related to capitalism as it functions today, but more so is related to my ideas of like people.
What if I wanted like a 32-bedroom house? Is your society like not down with that? Because maybe I need more room to stretch my legs inside. Maybe I don't like going outside and working in the dirt anymore.
Yeah, I have to have rooms for all my dogs.
I mean, first off, that's a valid reason for a 32-room house. Okay, let's just be clear. Yeah. Dogs deserve their own rooms. Joking aside, though, I do think that in a ideal society, if the people who genuinely have a need or want for, say, a 32-room house, would have that have that be met. Though it's important to note that like the need for a 32 room house is I wouldn't even call it like a corner case. It's like a molecule in the corner case. If you want to like bump it down to I want to live in a McMansion, right? Then that suddenly becomes a much more, I think, something we can have a conversation about. And yeah, I think that like,
but now he can have the mansion and not have to have a conversation with you about it at all. Why would we give that up? What are we gaining?
Because in our
from
current
your utopia,
under our current system not only allows but necessitates for some people to not have a roof over their heads or a job or you know, can be enlisting the things that are.
What does that have to do with his wanting a 32 room house?
His desire for a 32 room house is less important than the need of somebody to not freeze on the streets.
That's your opinion of it, but that's
yes,
not his.
No, that is my opinion, and I think that I think broadly people would also agree with that, and that's why it's all of these systems would just be at the end of the day up to the people whom they affect, because again, what I'm talking about is a very, very representative democracy in which people can actually have that society is focused around meeting the needs of people instead of focused around the pursuit of profit above all else, which is what fundamentally differentiates capitalism from like my system, in that I care less about profit and more about meeting the needs of people.
Well, my need is for more freedom than your system provides. The freedom that I currently have under capitalism. So I don't think our ideals are the same.
I think our ideals are broadly the same. I think we disagree on
our needs are the same. No, I don't think they are. You keep talking about the ideal society, and when you describe it, I'm like, it's not my ideal, not even close. So the ideals that are underpinning it can't be the same.
What's up, Chris?
What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up? Any news?
Yeah, my testing thing actually went well today. They actually found. I mean, I didn't understand it because, like they said, they're going to call me with like a full breakdown, but they did test on my ears that they said they actually are a lot closer to getting. Well, first of all, there's proof. Now I have proof that like the vertigo is absolutely like is a physiological thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never had that before. I never had anything that actually proved that my vertigo was actually real, besides just like me saying it. So like that actually, the test actually proved that my vertigo is actually a real thing. And they said, and it's a step closer to actually getting a diagnosis for it that might lead to path to treatment for it. So it was very positive, actually.
Oh, good.
Hell
that's
yeah.
what we were hoping for. Yeah,
no, that's what I've been hoping and praying for years now. And like, so I'm kind of jazzed about it. I mean, I feel the test made me super dizzy. I'm still feeling kind of discombobulated from it, but at the same time, I'm very happy to know that there is a path forward for diagnosis and treatment. I don't know about treatment really at this point, but I do know that at least that there's like, it's something that I can actually, it'll help with the disability and everything else. Like if nothing else, it gives me that. It gives me like something that I can like show and say like, hey, this test shows it's a real thing. So
yeah, I
had to jump through a lot of hoops to get to the people who actually did that test. But it's really weird too. Like they put this like weird like VR goggle headset on you. It looks like a VR headset anyway. It's very much smaller than that, but still, it's like this weird like headset thing that like puts this thing over your eyes, and then they poured like they blew like different temperatures of air in my ears, to like
Ugh.
warm them up or cool them down to isolate like the way this ear looks on like the scanning thing or whatever.
Mhm.
And like that didn't do strongly. It wasn't strong enough, so then they poured ice cold water in my ears. And
Holy shit,
yeah.
son.
God.
yeah, it wasn't as bad as it sounds. But I mean, like but on my left ear, it apparently created a really extreme result. Like they were able to clearly see like the dizziness and stuff like that, like on their thing. So I don't understand it. I don't know what they did, but the person doing the doctor that was doing the test and everything was like very excited, saying that this actually shows us like where to go from here. So everything else we'd done had not really like given any kind of real data or anything. So I'm excited to know that there's actually it gave me hope. The first time I really had hope for this vertigo thing still started. So
Hell yeah.
anyway, so how's everybody doing today? It's good to see you, Lib. Good to see MoOse and Jeff and Machine Lies here. Everybody's like, Hank.
Yep.
How you doing, Hank?
I'm doing okay. I'm just trying to understand why communism would be better for me than what we have now, and trying to get a microcosm example which has not been provided yet. Like there's no small example, bigger than a Stefan Molyneux one trade thing, which it's not big enough for me to stick my teeth into.
Well, I did talk a little bit about Rojava, and we did have a stream I think like a week or so ago where I talked about it more at length. But if you want, Hank, I can put there's a paper that a guy did on Rojava that talked about a bunch of different stuff about it. If you want me to link that in the private chat for you.
Yeah, link it, but it's gonna be gone by April anyways. So
Hank, I got the answer for you, bro. If you don't like people like me and Gen X Jeff, people that love freedom, it's a great system because we'll all be dead.
True. Facts.
Oh, it has a volcano in it too. You hide that part a lot better than Joshua.
I would be dead.
That's
in the bushes.
That's the one advantage of Joshua is that he's very open about his volcano plans.
I am considering covering this these philosophical manuscripts of Karl Marx. Tomorrow I might get into it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, philosophical manuscripts is a little bit different pace than any of his other writings.
Are they any better as writing? Because he's not a very good writer.
I think I like it better. It's more Hegelian. It's talking. He brings nature into the discussion. He doesn't really do that in his other writings.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who I don't think like Marx is like just a piss poor like terrible writer. But I always thought.
I think he's like the devil's. I think he's like the devil's son, basically. Yeah.
He's not great.
Wow.
Yeah, he's bad news. Yeah, he's bad news.
He's not a great.
Yeah, he's not a great person.
Not a great writer.
Yeah.
I mean, he did have a sugar daddy.
Yeah,
Engels. I've always thought that was interesting. It's all.
Yeah, Engels actually referred to Marx theory as scientific socialism.
Yes, he did. Engels was
it's at least scientific version of socialism.
I'm excited.
I'm a bourgeoisie socialist.
Yeah, I think that's a dangerous idea.
How the fuck do I link a PDF in here?
Just link it in the private chat.
Just drop it in the private chat.
But I read a lot of Che Guevara. I like his stuff, especially his writings on guerrilla warfare. So some of those guys are very inspirational. Especially the strategy used. I mean, it's read by the Green Berets in the army.
Yeah.
So somebody was talking shit to me for talking about it, and I said, it's not just you're a communist, you read Che Guevara. No, it has practical import in terms of organizing a guerrilla army.
No, I think there's a lot of socialist writers other than Marx that I think people kind of like sleep on. Not even just like if you want to talk about just like people like revolutionaries, guerrilla fighting. I mean, you got Che Guevara, you've got Mao, you've got
Lenin. The way they did, the way they would do political sabotage and all those types of things. I mean, it's historical You know, I mean, they use ingenious strategies to take over countries and stuff. I mean, comparable to the kind that Benjamin Franklin and those guys used for statecraft. So I mean,
Yeah.
it was, you know, it was revolutionary guerrilla type of crazy stuff. So I mean, yeah.
I should check that out. That'd be interesting.
It'll work if I compress.
Yeah, guerrilla warfare is like only like 100 pages, but it's very, very useful. You could apply it to running a business or doing anything really. You know.
Okay, I was about to say because if the only thing it applies to is starting a guerrilla army, I'm not sure how
No,
useful it is for most people.
No, that's what I was telling that's what I was saying on Jack Talcott show, because they were like, you know, because everybody's always like, you guys are a bunch of pussies talking about peace. And I said, well, the first thing you do in war is you figure out how to fight the least amount. You know, that's how you win. You know, that's how you win effectively. You know, so
I mean, at its core, I mean, it should be anyway. The goal of any form of warfare should be to eventually reach some sort of level of peace. But I mean, I think that's obviously the problem with the military industrial complex and stuff like that is that they're perpetuated on perpetual warfare, on the intention of perpetual warfare. But I mean,
he says something that has a lot of import in real life. I've always find ever since I was a kid, because I read this book first in high school, and it says that all of the weapons you need to do the guerrilla warfare you're gonna get from your enemies. So you don't need any weapons to join the guerrilla army. You know, because you just take one guy out, you get his weapon, then you take another guy out, now you got two weapons. You know, you use one weapon to get two more. You know, so it's just like the whole rule of it is not turning the enemy's weapons against them, particularly, but getting all the firepower you need from the enemy. You know, that's an intriguing strategy in my opinion. You know?
Yeah, but if you want to talk about like other like non-revolutionary socialist writers, I mean, you've got a whole host of like of your like European socialists, like you got Rosa Luxemburg, Kropotkin.
Well, you know what you would really like is his Anti-Tech Revolution, Why and How, by Kaczynski, because he cites Lenin a whole lot in that. He cites Lenin and Mao tons in that. You know, like he just goes on citing them and the way they took over the state. You know, he uses actual historical examples of how they actually took down the state. So I mean, if you want to get your hands dirty, that's something. I mean, if you want to rap about ideology, you know, that has its places and times, but these guys were not really worried about that sort of thing.
Yeah, Guevara and Mao were more a little bit worried about the
they
more
were
immediate issues.
Yeah, they were maybe focused about a certain amount of ideological purity among their lower level henchmen, and that's it. But among the higher levels, there was no pretense to such a thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie The Motorcycle Diaries?
No.
Nope.
Oh yeah, I've heard a lot about that movie.
Fairly interesting film. It's about Guevara like way before he became a revolutionary. When he was like he was just a doctor. He was just a young doctor, and he was like backpacking across Brazil and like
his writings. He was a prolific writer. You know, the guy.
Yeah, I also saw Soderbergh's like Che Guevara films like that had Benicio del Toro in them.
Those are so excellent. I love those films. Those are very excellent, excellent made.
Yeah,
films.
because they're rather critical. They're rather critical, in addition to like there's some parts of it that seem a little bit like making him into a larger than life figure, but they're also very critical of him at the same time. So they're very interesting films.
Yeah, when he went to like Bolivia, they were pretty honest. Like he's like sickly and shit. He just stabs a horse for no reason. It's just like all fucked up.
Yeah, it's a really like it's not like a just like a complete like making him into like this godlike figure or something like that. They're pretty interesting films.
I see. While we're discussing world-changing philosophers, we got another one. We got another world-changing philosopher on our screen, Alex Jones.
Oh, I thought you were going to say me. I thought you were going to say me.
I thought he was too. I thought he was too, Jack. I thought he was going to NeuroJack himself.
I'm not doing a good job.
I didn't even notice you were here, Jack. I'm sorry. I love you.
So I want to say something on the Alex Jones since it's being brought into the discussion. But as usual, I will always have a place to talk about that. But I wanted to mention what you guys were just talking about really quick because I didn't hear the whole conversation, but I came in at the right time, I think. So what Machine was just saying about the pragmatics of ideology on the upper levels, I mean, this is kind of what I'm trying to point out to everybody on every side of everything. Like, I'm kind of like Machine. Like, I'm kind of swinging in all directions because everybody's basically everybody's basically a low-level henchman, but they think that they figured it out. And I think Alex Jones.
Did you see this guy last night? He said, "I swear the Jesuit oath to bash your head against the stone."
No, exactly, and no, and it's like you can't call yourself a Christian and a Jesuit. You can't call yourself a Christian and a Freemason. You can't call I mean, you can, but
well, you the Pope? Are you the Pope of Christianity, NeuroJack, or Jesus?
Is there a distinction? Hang on, Jack. Is there a distinction between the Jesuits, as in like that whatever priestly order in the Catholic Church, and like something else, or?
Well,
it's like the difference between like the CIA and like the politicians.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The Jesuits were a little different than just like a priestly order in the Catholic Church. They were.
No, I know there is like there have been. I mean, Jesuits have a weird propensity for being like social reformists. I know. Yeah,
especially in South America and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're talking about okay. In that case, yeah. No, I'm aware of.
Well, it goes back to the whole thing that you guys are discussing, which is that all these things that we're looking at are pragmatic ways to get people to do what you want under the guise of some sort of actual principle. But if you actually start understanding the philosophy of the principles, there is no fucking principle there. It's basically like how far do I have to go to get you to do what I want, while making you think that you're following some principle. I mean, it's totally bullshit. And I think that this is, the best agent is one who thinks that they're not an agent. And I mean, this is kind of what every side is dealing with, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a communist, anarchist, or whatever. I mean, people think that they figured out the game, but the game is basically something that we're not going to really figure out until you at least accept that philosophy is a tool being used against you in almost every case, and religion as well, and all this. I mean, it's undeniable if you study it enough. I mean, and I think this is kind of what we're trying to get people to see. And then Alex Jones is a great example of that, because Alex Jones has no problem using any philosophy or religious, framework to make his point. And I respect that as a person who respects rhetoric. But I mean, he quotes Cicero all the time, and the reason why is because Cicero was great at rhetoric. I mean, this is this is kind of what it's all about. And I think that Alex Jones is a great example of someone who will sell you. And again, like, I respect Alex Jones, but what I'm saying is, he's a part of the agenda, whether he's aware of it or not. And I think a lot of people who follow him are also, a part of the agenda, whether they're fully aware of it or not. And if anybody disagrees with that, I'm happy to.
What does that mean? How can he be part of an agenda and not even be aware of it? Somebody secretly mind controlling him?
No, it's like a useful idiot type thing.
Yeah, right.
By who, though? Like, isn't he producing his own content?
Oh, no way.
I mean, no, I believe. I support anti-censorship. In fact, I wanted to listen to Alex more the more that he wanted to, people or institutions wanted to censor him. So, I mean,
well, look at the January thing. There's no way he was, leading the charge there.
Absolutely
there's not just like 3 or 4 people and they all think of the same thing to do the same shit.
Yeah,
with feds involved. Like,
they put Owen Schroyer in jail for 60 days, didn't they?
Yeah, obviously there's somebody telling him to do that stuff.
I'm not quite that conspiracy brained, but I do believe that, like,
no, it's not about a conspiracy. People told him to do that.
Well, hold on, Lib. Hold on. Do you think that you
really think that January 6th was Alex Jones' idea?
No.
Well, Lib,
there's no way that's possible. Like,
hold on, Lib. Do you think that Lenin or Mao got into power without some significant, help from someone who wasn't on their team supposedly. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Well, yeah, but
yeah,
like that's different from like them taking like marching orders. Like Mao, for instance, Mao and a lot of actually the Chinese, those like disparate states around the time actually received a significant amount of support in like not just like, oh hey, go do this. Like they were given money and equipment, and there were
yeah.
volunteers
Yeah,
sent
it was
over there.
beautiful. Lib, I just want you to know that if Mao had taken over the world, you would probably have never been born.
That's probably true.
Well,
Which is,
Mao wasn't even really a communist. I mean, he used communism, but he wasn't.
yeah,
People don't really know what communism is. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm not a huge fan of the
Mao or Lenin or any of those guys. I know you're not.
Mao. Yeah.
NeuroJack,
I
are you one of those guys who
the
says
reason
we
I
just
respect
never
Lib,
did communism right? Is that what you're saying?
well, the reason that I do respect Lib is because Lib at least understands the fact that his ideal utopia isn't something that's achievable today, or
that's why I don't know.
ever.
I have no idea
It's an
why.
ideal that.
Well, even more so, I just feel like the more we ask him about it, the more he's describing our current system.
I agree.
Yep.
No.
I agree.
Duh, exactly. I mean, that's what I tried to get people to read the 10 planks or whatever of communism, and it almost exactly matches what we're experiencing. Yet we say, well, we haven't tried the real capitalism yet. See, I mean, it's like it's all a bunch of bullshit. I mean, communism will never work because it is inherently, self-contradictory. But that doesn't mean that you can't use it as a platform to do something. I mean, the same thing with capitalism or any of these other things. They're all flawed, but it doesn't matter because if people believe in it, do you think that there's no? Do you think there's no use in cognitive dissonance? That's literally what the world runs on. It doesn't run on Duncan's. It runs on cognitive dissonance. I mean, come on,
Yeah,
dude.
totally. Yeah, I mean, because and no system is perfect because no human is perfect. We're all flawed, and therefore anything we come up with is going to be flawed.
Well,
no matter what we do, it's going to have flaws. It's a matter of working with our flaws.
Look. If you want someone to walk off a cliff, you don't give them exact directions to the cliff. You give them this long roundabout way to where their vision is obfuscated, and then they're just going to walk off of it, right? Like without seeing it, right? Like you don't tell them go to the clearing where you can obviously see you're about to walk off a cliff. You tell them 99% the right direction, and then at the last second, take this last left turn at this boulder. I mean, that's kind of the game. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that is I agree. That's like a way in which people can be manipulated. I don't think that's necessarily the case all the time, but yeah. Again, that's part of the reason why I was, being like, I'm not quite as conspiracy brained. I don't think that like.
I'll give you an exact example for you, Lib. Like the reason, like the way that you think that Trump is very dangerous more than Biden, and I understand why you think that, and I thought that Biden was worse than Trump and all this, but that's the whole thing is like you see more of a threat from the right, we see more left, most of us see more of a threat from the left, but the truth is it doesn't really matter. They could put the game is using both sides to make the other side distracted while the whatever's behind the scenes is putting their pieces into place. You get what I'm saying? Like everybody's looking at the border and saying, oh, there's going to be a secession or there's going to be a this or that. And it's like while we're all looking that way, they're putting all their pieces into place behind the scenes.
I somewhat agree. I mean, yeah, we do, but like it's worth noting that it's not that I necessarily intrinsically see more of a threat from the right. It is that in America, the right, the GOP, is specifically engaging in not only anti-democracy rhetoric, but anti-democratic methods.
I think you got that ass backward.
Well, and the same thing could be said about the other side here.
Yeah.
You admitted it yourself earlier that neither side seems to want to play fair. Well, the gerrymandering on both sides.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, no, I
let's be
agree.
honest. We're so far beyond these little like side issues. I mean, it's I understand what you're saying about the gerrymandering and shit, but I mean, we're so far beyond that, being the issue. I mean,
I do have issues with the Democrats. A lot of them, in fact, actually, and like that's part of the reason why this election.
You have issues with the Democrats?
Yeah, I know, shocking.
And I think it boils down to the people. And
oh my
I
God!
get so much more hateful rhetoric from the left-hand side than I do from people on the right-hand side. Just going off my Alex Jones books, some people would come in here and call me a QAnon or Q-tard or whatever.
It depends on what level you're looking at it from, though. It depends on what level you're looking at it from. But
right.
I know.
Or if I
saying.
don't want open borders, I'm suddenly a racist bigot. Like, come on, man.
It's also worth noting that the Democrats are, when we talk about like the right and left, the Democrats are tepidly center. Calling them left would be.
I mean, the left is fascist. The left is fascist.
Of course, yes. All leftism is just fascism. That is true.
Yes.
And all rightism is just fascism. So like they're all it's fascist
no,
all
Chris,
the way
you
down.
you have to understand, Chris. No. It's the right is where you have free thinkers like Ayn Rand. All right. Come on.
Oh my God.
Get your
Come
shit
on.
Right.
Who
well, the new well, let's be honest. The new left is the new left is fascist and the new right is communist. Hank, go ahead.
I didn't have anything to say.
No, you were going to say something before everybody started talking. I just wanted you.
Yeah,
I know you had a point. I wanted to hear it because I know you had something to.
Oh, yeah. Before my connection went Comcastic, I was going to say, unless you can change your name from NeuroJack to NeuroJesus, there's no reason to trust you on who's a true Christian or not.
Well, that's kind of my whole point. Is like if. People just throw around the term Christian and it really doesn't have any meaning anymore. But people just like say, well, you're not the real Christian and you're not the real Christian. I mean, it's like they've totally taken all the meaning away from the.
No true Scotsman, right?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
What about?
So I just use it anyways because everybody's just going to change the definition, mid sentence every time.
Same with me anyway, because it's just like it's close enough, So it's like it's not like but it doesn't really like what most people think when they think of Christian.
Well, I want people to define their terms, and then you'll find shockingly they never want to do that. So that's kind of the point. So what were you going to say?
I love to find my terms.
I know you do, but that's my point. Is like one out of like 100 people are actually going to ever want to define what the term they're using means.
Well, it's like this. Fascism is a link between the the industrial and the military arm of the country, and then totalitarianism is just the complete monopoly of like power within like the state arm. So there's no diffusion of power.
The dissolution of checks and balances. You have one arm of the government controlling everything.
Yeah.
Which is, one of the great things about our system is we do have a system of checks and balances. We have 3 branches of government that are supposed to keep each other in check.
Not quite like we used to, though.
But it's still there.
They deferred a little too much to the agencies than they should. The power to call wars should be Congress.
You got agencies like the ATF that just make up their own rules and try to enforce them. Like
I'm talking about any agency, any agency.
The FBI and the DEA, they all are operating on this sort of rogue mentality. Yeah, the NSA especially, and that was exposed with Edward Snowden. We don't, I don't understand how people aren't more outraged by what was uncovered.
That was exposed with JFK.
I mean,
probably weren't surprised. It's not even that surprising.
What really was
exposed? It wasn't surprising, exactly. It's like I already figured the government was doing that stuff. Like that's the reason why I think most people felt that way. I think most people were like, oh yeah, I kind of figured they were doing that anyway.
But the people who denied it all along, the people who called us conspiracy theorists, like, oh, well, he's a traitor because he whatever.
Yeah.
Because he went against the government, so he's automatically a traitor. But no, he exposed what was happening at the NSA and. It wasn't just stuff that was being used for operational security. It was, crazy guys spying on their ex-girlfriends and shit. So I mean that's what we're leading to.
Yeah,
I think JFK was the first one to expose the NSA.
Did the
Did the
NSA
That worked out well for him.
I don't know if the NSA even existed at that point. I think the NSA was
Yeah, they did.
It's part of the
Did they?
CIA.
Yeah.
I mean,
Back
it's
then
always
it was
been
the CIA.
Well, yeah, it was the CIA at that time, but
I think with
I think
9/11
the NSA
they made the Homeland Security Department, and then it became officially more the NSA after 9/11. So it was just another branch.
They could have existed. They were formed November 4th, 1952.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know they've been around that long. I thought they were for some reason I thought they were formed in the 70s. That's my bad.
The origins can be traced back to 1917, 3 weeks after the U.S. Congress declared war on Germany in World War II. It was for like code and cipher decryption stuff.
Yeah, OSS.
Now, is NSA part of Homeland Security, or where? Why did I think that?
No, I think Homeland Security is a different one.
NSA stands alone.
Yeah, the Homeland Security is created by Bush, right?
Yeah, that was done.
Jr.
That was
Bush
done
Jr.
as part of the Patriot Act.
Yeah, that was
exactly.
02. Yeah.
And I don't know why we need 17 NSA departments.
No kidding.
You know,
I mean, what would be a better as a security expert? What would the correct number of departments be in your mind?
I don't think you need to roll in all 17 agencies under one umbrella. You need to differentiate foreign from domestic and things like that. Whereas today they're trying to roll everything under one umbrella.
Yeah, so it seems like your issue is just with the organization, not with it fundamentally.
Well, it depends what the individual pieces are. I'd have to look them up again. But smaller government is better government. Basic government is better than this huge monster we have now.
Well, I have some good news for you. Smaller governments existed in the past, and people didn't really live better lives than they did today. So I can say with pretty certain that smaller government does not always necessarily equal better government.
Right, but that's because capitalism doesn't have a lot of poverty, though. So.
Well, monopolies is what ruins capitalism.
Yes, it does. I agree.
Well, you know, if you remember, they broke up. There's mechanisms in place that should be enforced to break up monopolies, just like what was done to AT&T back in the day.
Yeah, one of the positive things the Biden admin has done is actually put together a reasonably aggressive NLRB. It's actually positive. Maybe it'll actually do some good.
What's the NLRB? I guess I'm not
the National Labor Relations Board. Labor Relations Board. Yeah, it's basically the organization that helps workers like do things like resolve disputes, unionize. They're the ones who actually do the enforcement of like the anti-union laws and stuff, or the anti-union busting stuff. They've been pretty weak for a while, and so yeah, they actually been doing some stuff. Even though Biden also, broke the railway workers' strike, which was
he very much contradicts his whole labor stance in that thing right there. That was
it's really annoying.
They weren't even asking for that much. Like whenever I thought that was probably a kind of a nothing burger at first, but like when you actually looked into like that like the demands they were asking for, they were not asking for like extreme things or anything. It wasn't like it wasn't like
it was mostly like pay. Yeah, it was mostly like pay and safety regulations. Like that's it's mostly what it was. But even things that aren't even companies that aren't monopolies have outsized power. So
yeah, at a certain point, once companies get to a certain size, and you get the size of like an Amazon or something like that, like it's almost like okay, so they're not a monopoly, so what? Like they just end up working in congruence with the other giant companies and end up making like a de facto monopoly, even if it's not even like a real one.
Yeah, oligopoly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something really. Can you hear me? Okay.
We'll try with your connection.
You're
Yeah,
fading
you
out,
broke up
Nero.
there.
You're breaking up.
Okay. So really breaking up right now.
Houston, we
Yeah,
have a problem.
It was better for a second.
How about now?
Yeah,
I
you're
can
good.
hear you.
That's better.
Okay, so here's what I wanted to say. A lot of this conspiracy shit that we're all looking into about the NSA did this and you know, the government did this wrong. Like, have you guys noticed that all the truthers like Alex Jones and all this stuff are like, they're not pro reform the government. They're pro like the government's messed up and you should be against the government. Has anybody noticed that pattern?
No.
I mean,
Oh, yes, you have.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Come on,
Yeah,
man.
I've seen it. Yeah, like there's like, but there's that side of there's people like on the left too. They're the same way. They're just like, you know,
Only for the
they're
They're,
just
they're
like,
only
well, like
against
just
the other
just
side's
like just
government.
look at defund the police. Like that's basically what that was too. It was like, you know, it was like, you know, not reform the police. Let's just get rid of them altogether.
Yep.
Well, they're partisan. So they're against the
The-
government when this other guy in charge, but when they're in charge, it's fine. It's great. It's gonna make America great again.
Yeah. It's like oh on what it's like well there's some really messed up laws out there that we need to change. Well, instead of that, why don't you throw all the laws out then? Just throw them all out. Like it's ridiculous.
Well, that's the problem. They make new laws to overact when they already got laws on the book.
That is how laws
Yeah.
work sometimes. Yes.
Well, but yeah, but that it gets a little ridiculous sometimes. Like I mean, like
agree.
whenever like remember a couple of years back whenever they introduced like anti-lynching legislation, and like you know lynching being like it is kind of a form of murder. Like there was already anti-lynching legislation because it's not legal to kill people. You know, like lynching by default was already illegal. You didn't have they did it as totally as a virtue signal type thing. It was just like
I mean,
see,
yeah.
we're against lynching because it's racist. You know, and it's like
Though it
okay.
is-
Sure,
It's like all
you know,
hate
but
crime
it-
legislation. Like every crime is inherently a hate crime. Like you know, like every crime of violence.
Well,
Have you guys also noticed that it's like it's basically like the extreme version of the conspiracy where it's like, you know, the whole like Epstein and the whole QAnon and like even if it's true, the average person thinks that you're fucking crazy. So basically you just totally shut yourself out of all reasonable discussion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've had that happen a lot actually. I mean, and you know, it's not it's a fact that Epstein, you know, was a convicted pedophile, and that he did have indeed an island, and Ghislaine Maxwell was also working with him, and
that
they
his plane
had
was
clients
called the
of rich
the
and
plane-
powerful people.
He named
Yeah,
he
he was
nicknamed his
probably
plane the Lolita
connected to
Express.
Mossad as
and-
well.
I know, but my point is like the news reinforces the conspiracy stuff, and then you have the special knowledge and you try to actually talk about it, even though, like I said, it's probably true. But my point is like it's kind of like this synergistic thing where like every time you try to like get through to somebody on something that you can actually prove, they just say, well, that makes you anti-Semitic, or that makes you crazy, or that makes you whatever. So then it's just like you automatically get excluded from any actual, you know, pathway to authority or power or anything like that.
If you could actually prove it, that shouldn't be happening. So I'd look at your proof. What you think you're
Yeah.
offering is proof.
Well, and it's more than that though, Jeff, because you know the people that visit Epstein Islands are the same people that have the control of media influence, and the response that NeuroJack that was talking? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it was.
But the response he's talking about is a programmed response from the normies when you mention this stuff, because they've heard, you know, the key words like crackpot, Alex Jones, conspiracy theory, QAnon, et cetera, et cetera. It's all been like the word conspiracy has always been associated with the word theory to invalidate it. There's a programmed response that these people have to start calling you names and dismissing you when you bring up
so
the fact.
much of it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
It
I'm
is.
one of those people you're talking about.
Yes,
that is
Right,
what
right,
I-
and I get it, but you can look it up for yourself and see that Epstein. You know who Jeffrey Epstein is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with
Okay,
Jeffrey
so you're familiar with the Jeffrey Epstein story. So me telling you that and you knowing about it you're not programmed for that response, but he's talking about the programmed response that a lot of people will give you when you talk about, well, that's just some Alex Jones fucking conspiracy theory and you're a fucking nut job, et cetera, et cetera. So it's
some of it is. We were talking about the snake people the other day.
Some of it is,
but here's
and
the
a
problem,
lot of
Jeff.
that I think is added on as a.
Jeff, here's the problem.
It's not the same thing as
There's the
Epstein,
problem.
though.
Let me turn my volume back up. The problem is you have agent provocateur wannabes like Officer Snaps going and saying a whole bunch of easily refutable nonsense.
Oh my god, that guy's insane. I listened to one of his streams the other day.
Yes, easily refutable nonsense, and then you're kind of in the same boat.
But and I think that people need to differentiate those boats.
Did you see him? Did you see him today on OTW when JG asked him the question? He asked him. I turned it on for 5 seconds. Before I left to my prayer because I thought, they're probably restreaming me now.
No, they didn't restream you. They're doing rap battles.
You talking about Toilet Bowl and them?
No, I'm talking about OTW News because they like to restream my show too. So
he's so irrelevant here.
Well,
though,
what was
machine
said?
wise, like people don't even know who OTW is because he's so much garbage.
I don't like him.
But I turned it on and JG was asking Snap because JG's a little slow, so he was like asking Snafu, like he's like Snafu, are you saying this this shit to get a rise out of people or like why are you saying this to people? And he's like, and Snafu goes, yeah. I'm just straight up lie just to see where people stand. Like that's literally what he said. That's literally what came out of his mouth. I mean, it's obvious to me, but
he did say
funny that he just straight up just said it. He's just like, yeah. I'm just lying. I'm just straight up lying. And how do you like that? It's just like, the guy's got no problem doing it. He's a weasel.
Yeah, he's a weasel. He acts like he's an agent provocateur.
He's an Alex Jones wannabe.
Yeah, something like that. He's
like chaotic to me.
He's not entertaining though.
He's entertaining in some sense. I want to get him on his own platform, get him talking for hours by himself or with someone like Officer Nemesis, and it's just.
You talking about MC Nemesis?
Yes.
Nemesis.
Oh,
Nemesis.
I hope he's okay. He seems really upset when he quit.
Yeah, if I could get both of them together for like an hour, I have like 15 or 20 splices. That'd be hilarious.
Well, I would offer, but
no, you wouldn't. You don't want both of them at the same time.
Well, Snafu's not coming on here, and MC is sometimes about as much as I could take.
I mean, you already had to kick him off a couple of times. So.
I just don't understand the mentality that, oh my God, this is my life that you're talking about. It's not. I mean, you're not part of the circle. It's not really your life, but you're still gonna pay your bills. You're still gonna go to work. You're still gonna wake up and sleep and eat every day. Like, come on.
Right, because it's really stupid to make your identity that, like that's your life. That seems pretty bad.
This streaming should be nobody's life. I'm sorry for people who it is, including myself.
I mean, I enjoy it. It's a big part of my enjoyment in life at the moment. But if it goes away, or if I do something different, then it is what it is.
It's a big part of my life, but I wouldn't call it my life, though. I mean, it's definitely important to me.
It's entertaining. I like having these discussions, Lib. I like talking about this with you, but I'm still kind of lost on what your actual idea is. I mean, it sounds like you just want everything to be better. I mean, that's the best way I can summarize what you were saying, because even when we're talking about your anarcho systems, it doesn't even sound anarchy because you admit that we need a central government.
He just wants a pot in every chicken.
What? Who's
pot in every chicken.
Pot in every chicken.
some pot, maybe some pot for every chicken. Maybe a little.
Yeah. Every chicken gets just a little bit of pot.
I like pot.
There you go.
I do too. We can bond over that.
I mean, I think a little pot probably makes chicken a little better. A little pot in the
probably
yeah.
makes it a little
I think you just drop them on the spot and the whole situation goes away.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Like, I rode my bike to the mosque today, and it's cold as fuck outside. And I just rode my bike. It's like 2 miles away, and I rode there and rode back, and I was just frozen solid by the time.
That's some fucking dedication. I don't
Yeah. Yeah, when I got
The
back, I was just
machine
frozen
freeze.
solid. I was tired as hell. Like I can't move my legs. But I was like, I don't need to get high right now. Like I just felt like not getting.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was just like, yeah, I was just like, I'm gonna sit here and smoke weed and just totally be couch locked, you know. And I feel so like calm right now. Like, you know, you do a little exercise. It's weird. Like you don't even have to smoke weed. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, that's like when you exercise.
It has
I never-
endorphins, yeah.
This is exactly why I gave up my career basically to do something manual labor. I did it. I started it 2 years ago, but I worked from home doing IT stuff, and I was 360 pounds and just really unhealthy, and just was not happy, man. And I got a job loading trucks at and it's. I've lost over 100 pounds now, and
good for you.
I feel awesome, man. Every day I do it, 5-6 hours a day. It's great.
As somebody who does a lot of manual labor, I think everyone should work in a manual labor job at some point in their life.
Yeah.
It's
not
good
according to Talcott.
Well, yeah, but I don't think it's true. I don't think everybody should have to do anything. Everybody is built differently. Everybody has their own different goals. Like that's the whole problem I have with the utopia.
I'm more talking about just from a experiential. I think like the act of like obviously it's assuming that people can. Obviously, if you're fucking wheelchair bound, don't get a job at a warehouse loading boxes. Okay, that would be very, very silly.
I think everybody needs to be a dishwasher in a restaurant because that's like the worst job ever.
Or a waiter, or just I think every if you ever I think it. You should have to get a license to go eat at restaurants, and in order to get that license, you should have to serve as a waiter for like a week. You know,
based.
Because if you actually have to be a server for like a week, it'll totally change your entire opinion on how to treat wait staff at places.
Oh yeah. I think it will.
Waiting tables will completely reform.
Well, let's be honest though. A lot of servers fucking are horrible now. I don't know about. I think in the past they were like uniformly pretty good, but a lot of them are like pretty terrible now. But no, I agree. I actually agree with you over in general though.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I'm not really actually talking about like passing a law or something. I think it's good for it. I think it's good for everybody to like have that experience like in your back pocket. Though, just to
I remember
just for empathy's sake, you know.
I remember the reason I called in now. So sorry, I forgot the reason why, and I now remember. So here's the thing. Oh shit, I lost it again. Sorry, go ahead. Hold on 1 second. I'll get it back in a second. Hold on. Sorry, I'm driving. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead, guys.
I was gonna say I don't even become a couch potato when I smoke weed. It like fucking amps me up. I do all sorts of housework.
You must smoke sativa.
I do.
Well, it gets harder when you get older, though. I'll tell you that. Like it does change. Like I used to do everything high, and then it gets harder as I got older.
Sativa also helps me sleep.
Oh.
I sleep a lot better. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, good for you guys. I wish I had good experiences with that particular substance any longer.
No, none.
It's just it does nothing good. Just nothing good for me these days.
I'm with you, Chris.
I used to like it whenever I was much younger, but then after I stopped smoking pot and I went back to it, I've never been able to do it again. Like every time I've tried it, makes me sick. So you guys should look into math.
It makes them brain retarded.
Nah, I'm from Tennessee. I'm good. I've seen more than my fair share of meth.
Yeah. Well, as I've said,
I got put on Ritalin when I was a kid. That's all the meth I've ever needed, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. ADHD. Yo,
we're from Tennessee.
Yo, kid, it turns out you have diet autism, and to cure it, we're gonna microdose you on meth.
Well, you know, whatever
it works.
It works for me.
Yeah,
I take Adderall, so I mean,
yeah.
It gave me a kickstart for sure.
Define work, though. See, this is the thing. Like people say, well, it works. Well, what does it work towards? What end does it work towards, though?
Oh, it helps. It helps kids who have ADHD to sort of assimilate
easier. To sit in a chair for 8 hours a day and get told a bunch of bullshit. Is that what it works?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
No, well, I guess
Is
so,
that what
to a
happened to
degree,
you?
but it helps me. It helps me with anything, any kind of creative pursuit or anything. It helps me stay focused in a lot of ways. It keeps me. I mean, I'm
Well, sure. I mean, the thing is, like, I'm sure if I pump myself full of drugs every day, like, I would be very productive. The industry I used to be in, half the people were on drugs all day long, and they were extremely productive, but at a very severe price at some point, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, works to what end, you know?
I haven't really had any negative side effects from the Adderall since I've been. I mean, I've been on for years too. So, but I mean, that's it's different for everybody. I mean, certain people are going to have negative reactions to it.
Okay, but look, I mean, like, look. I've smoked a lot of pot in my days, okay, and I'm telling you, like, I love pot, but I'm telling you one thing, like, it changes the way you process your emotions at the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you ever smoke pot for like 2 or 3 months straight and then you stop, you're going to process emotions very differently, and it takes a while to even out. And again, I'm not saying that means that pot is bad, but what I'm saying is, like, it changes the way you process things, and there's a time and a place for everything. And again, I'm not sitting here putting down people who use anything for any reason. All I'm saying is, if you have a tool in your tool belt and you say, well, this tool helps me all the time without any consequence, I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's a very bold statement to say.
It'd be like,
anything.
No. I understand what he's saying. It's kind of like how it'd be like trying to drive a nail in with a mallet. Like, yeah, you can. It will eventually work, but it's not a perfect tool for
mallet.
every. Yeah, rubber mallet. Mallets are. That's what makes it a mallet.
For me, I feel like what Adderall, at least like what does, for me, the reason why it makes me more calm and like less anxious. My brain races all the time. I feel like it speeds up the rest of me to catch up with my brain. That's how I feel. I feel more even on it. I feel more like balanced.
Is meth considered like what we used to call speed?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's not the same.
Yeah, Redington. Yeah, Redington is actually speed. Yeah. The stuff they gave me is actually what speed is. Redington is speed, and then Adderall is closer to meth, but it's the amphetamine side of meth. It's methamphetamine with the meth taking off of it. So
it is also worth noting that both Redington and Adderall use very, very, very. They use a different thing, and also they use smaller amounts. So like, we doctors are not prescribing kids meth when they prescribe kids Redington.
You know what's funny though?
Well, I don't know. It's like
microdose.
It's like what Chris said. You know, like what you said, Chris. Like how it helps part of your brain catch up to the other part. Like it's like that with me, but it's off. Like part of my brain's moving faster than the other fucking part, and it's like a runaway freight train with just outrageous cargo, and I just can't catch up to the other side. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Chris?
Oh, I was gonna say what's funny is that I don't know, most people don't realize that methamphetamine is only a class 2 narcotic because of the fact that it's still prescribable. They can still prescribe that shit.
This is shameful. Yeah. Mushrooms is Schedule 1.
They actually can prescribe meth to people if they want to. I don't think any doctors do, but it's still produced by some. I think it's called disoxin or something like that.
You guys remember a diet pill that was called what was it? Upjohn's?
Upjohn?
Yeah.
No.
Not familiar.
All it was speed. They used to prescribe it for diet pills.
I believe it.
Sudafed is chemically Sudafed, like the pseudoephedrine, is the exact same chemical structure as speed. It might just with an added alpha hydroxy group onto it. That's the reason why Sudafed is basically kept behind counters and everything now, because of the fact that that's how they were making a lot of the meth, is that they were taking that, and then you chemically just have to remove the alpha hydroxy group from the Sudafed, and that's how you got meth.
Yeah, it's called robo tripping. You guys hear about robo tripping?
I accidentally did that once because I had a cold and I was so fucking out of it, and I kept coughing, so I kept drinking Robitussin trying to get rid of the cough, and before I knew it, I drank like a whole bottle of the shit like in a really short amount of time, and I started like hallucinating and shit. Yeah,
didn't they recall that recently? I forget.
I don't think.
Yeah, I started putting it in and doing it, and then I fell asleep, so I stopped. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The rope testing you can
Well,
get
I-
now is the same rope testing you can get then.
Yeah. Sorry.
I can tell you gallons of NyQuil
did
does
right.
you no good.
Now they changed those drugs quite a bit since they used to have alcohol in them. For example, like Robitussin and NyQuil both used to be 10% alcohol, and they don't have
They
alcohol.
still
in them.
are. NyQuil is.
Not the ones you can buy around here anyway. They don't sell them. They don't sell that kind around here anymore. But
I used to drink that by the gallons at work.
By the gallon.
by the gallons.
I don't listen to either one, Frank. So it is a stereotype.
Is
Where
someone
you
on a
going
train?
off of-
Someone on a train?
NeuroJack's driving.
Yeah, NeuroJack's driving.
Yeah, but his mic is muted.
Oh. Yeah.
It's
I don't know where it's coming
Not
from.
me.
Not me. My mic's muted on my end.
What is that? I love that sound.
I don't
Very
mind. That's
strange.
my mic. It's kind of creepy sounding. It sounds like there's like
Yeah, I
this,
love
like,
it.
like,
Is it
like,
deep?
there's like a ghost wailing in the background.
It's the
like,
internet
"Ah!"
ghosts.
Yeah,
Oh,
like a
that's-
squeal.
What is going on?
Who's
The
that
haunted
coming
tree.
from?
Or it's the demons.
It is the demons. Probably the demons.
That is the way the demons.
Oh, it's
Or it's the alphabet agencies.
It's Baphomet back there. Baphomet's trying to get our attention.
Yeah, it's my NSA agent.
Taffy.
My NSA agent's trying to get my attention.
Is he a ghost?
Yeah, it's because I've got one because
Might
I
as well be.
read the book How to Blow Up a Pipeline, and they got a little worried.
So you're saying that the term spooks is literal then?
I
like,
was
you know?
I was about to say that. They call them spooks for a reason.
Everything's a spook. Society's a spook. Gender's a spook. Politics is a spook.
That
I
used
thought
to be
you
a
couldn't
bad
call it
word
spook
back in
I
the day.
am an egoist.
Well, as a white person, I'm offended by the term
Race.
spook.
Yeah, you know it is. You know it is February, so you gotta refrain from.
That's
using
true.
that word.
Happy February. Happy, you know what happens in February.
Hey, Jeff, would you do me a big favor? Would you go to your Twitter and look at Owen Benjamin's recent post about Black History Month and just read that for people?
It's a huge favor.
I feel like Jeff.
Who the hell is
like
Owen
Benjamin?
He's that bear, that crazy bear. That tried to
He's
start
He's a crazy person, I think.
his tweet
he's a
about what? Black
nobody.
History Month.
Yeah, how he wants to celebrate Black History Month.
How does he want to celebrate? Oh God, it's probably fucking cringe.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, it is cringe. Y'all can look it up yourself. It's not
Love.
that much.
They used to
Too
burn a
cringe for
cross
stream.
in people's yards, but back in the day to celebrate.
It's an entertainment stream.
Yeah,
Don't
well,
laugh, Chris. I'm being serious.
I don't think that was a celebration per se.
Pretty sure some people. I know at least a couple people who would love to burn a cross in celebration of that today. So it's.
I never understood why burning.
Yeah,
a
they
cross,
are a
like,
class of
where-
homos. That's why I don't understand why this guy took bear as the name for his thing. He obviously didn't know it was already associated with the gays.
Is he gay?
No, it's like
Is
this
he,
little.
he's not even a
great
bear.
Truther
Maybe he's like
cult.
maybe he's trying to take
No.
it back.
He's trying
No,
to
and he
create
started this
it
whole
away.
cult called the Bear.
Damn, Jeff, you should be for this. He's trying to take a word away from the gays. Come on, this is
It's
all
not
your
working
shit.
though. Like I have no
Yeah.
problem with him trying to do it if he thinks he can do it better, but he can't. It's not working at all.
I don't know.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely not
he's failing badly. at it. There's no. I can't.
How can
side
you?
with it.
How can you do gay better? I mean,
I know that's something I've been
I
struggling
second
with.
that question. Chuck.
Honestly, it's impossible. Everything good is already gay, so can't really improve from that.
I mean, it just means happy.
Well, I heard an old adage that practice makes perfect, so I guess that's the reason.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it just means happy anyway. You know, just back in I was what I was
As
watching
all Pappy used to say, practice makes perfect when you're gay.
Oh man, I was listening to this comedy special, and this guy, I think it's like from like the early 2000s, and I was shocked by what he said because the guy goes, like he's talking about his grandpa that somebody showed up to like their family dinner, like it was a black guy, and he's like somebody showed up to a family dinner and told like the grandpa that they were gay, and the grandpa says, he says, boy, why don't you find a normal girl and just fuck her in the ass? That's what he said. And I was like, why can't you just be normal and just find a girl and just fuck her in the ass? That's what he said. It was very funny.
I do believe that. That very much. Actually, we mentioned so little sayings and adages. Did you know that the first recorded instance of the enemy of my enemy is my friend comes from 1225 BC between the king of the Hittites and the king of Amaru, which is Sumer. Yeah. Talking about my enemy is my friend. That quote goes, that like saying goes all the way back, like fucking 3,000 years.
Well, it's just like when Christians say that some wars have to be justified, even if you can't really know for sure that it's actually justified.
No Christians I know sit around talking about wars and justifying.
Oh, sure they do. Ask them about World War II and killing and going after me, Mr. Mustache, and millions of people dying. They say, well, we had to get them Nazis, so,
That wasn't any conversation I've ever had with any Christian.
Now,
really? So, okay. What Christian do you know? What Christian do you know says we shouldn't have been fighting in World War II?
Well, a neo-Nazi Christian,
or really anybody.
A neo-Nazi Christian would have opposed U.S. involvement in World War II. So, I mean,
I guess. I mean, I don't think that. Yeah, maybe.
There aren't really that many of them around.
No. My point of bringing that up is like
to the Christians.
I mean,
Christian that I reckon, like with the way when you describe your conversations with Christians.
Also, in general, I would say.
So what? So.
Jack, I mean, a better example.
What Christian do you know doesn't believe that we should have been fighting in World War II?
Jack.
Yeah, probably Jack.
He's not. Well, I mean.
Also, though,
okay.
Jack, it's worth noting.
What percentage is what I'm asking? Excuse me.
Jack, a better example than World War II would be, for instance, the Crusades. As someone who's had conversations with Christians about the Crusades, they oftentimes will very vehemently justify them.
Which I mean, I'm a Christian. I think the Crusades were an atrocity. It's
sure.
on a level far worse than even what Mr. Mustache did.
My point of bringing it up is just war. The just war idea comes from like ancient Egypt. It's not a Christian ideal, right? It comes from 1,000 years probably or more that
a lot of
before Christianity existed,
kind of really old, because it turns out humanity is pretty old.
Hey, Cascadian.
We're mostly just, I mean, history isn't a cycle.
Well, Cascadia is the perfect person to talk about just war, the just war idea.
Yeah, he's really good with history. So. Oh man.
Well, but even Jeff uses that idea though. Like Jeff believes in a just war idea, right? Like he says, "Well, my country."
You and I never talked about just war, other than.
Oh well, the Israeli-Palestinian thing. You said, "Well, I think that Israel is better for my ideal, so it's justified for us to go and do what we got to do."
It's justified for what happened.
Well, Jack.
Oh, really? Please explain. I'm very curious to hear
Jack,
that.
Instead of getting into that specific, because we all know where that topic will lead.
We all know where that leads. It doesn't go anywhere good.
Oh no! This is important. I want to hear Chuck's Christian justification for Israel's actions. I want to hear.
It's not a Christian justification.
Oh, okay. So Christians should support it, even though it has nothing to do with Christianity. Okay, go ahead. All right, go ahead. Proceed.
That's not what I said. I said they
You
should
just said it's
support
not
what's
Christian.
right. I said that they should support what's right. They were attacked. They had a right to try to stop any further attack.
Okay, sure. Okay, how about this? When after 9/11, when a couple thousand people died, and a few million people died in the wars preceding that, was that justified?
Where do you get the millions from?
The news, when they said that millions of people died in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and all over the world.
I didn't see that number.
Okay, well, whatever number it is, that's much higher than the people that died on 9/11. Is it justified by Christian standards?
To clarify, the 2 million figure is not combat fatalities. It is deaths associated because of the Iraq War.
I could be wrong. I mean, I'm happy to hear if I'm wrong. I just want to know what.
I mean, I can Google this.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not combat. They weren't combat casualties.
They always, the combat casualty number is a lot lower, from my understanding.
I mean, it's still not that low. It's still like I think in the tens of thousands. But the 2 million figure is like the number of people who were who died due to like the ensuing famines and diseases and all that other stuff,
displacement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So it mostly depends on if.
Mindfuck.
It mostly depends on if Chuck.
It's got some interesting comments there about his views on Jesus Christ. There, I think that's something that sounds like something TML might be interested in talking about.
Yeah, me and Sarah are always going at it. It is.
Oh, that's Sarah.
Yeah, that's Sarah. Yeah.
Hey, Sarah.
Followers of Holy Jesus Christ were not called Christians; they were called followers of the Way. Outsiders
this is the way.
As a cult known as Nazarenes. Yeah, I talked about some of the Nazarenes and the Ebionites. Yeah, I do believe that some of those were some OG.
That's old. That's older than even anything we're talking about. Like we were talking about the Crusades, and by the time the Crusades, the term Christian had been largely
I'm aware of it. Yeah, I'm aware of what it is. Yeah, I talked about the Crusades too on my show, buddy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the Crusades and the actually, I talked about it from the Christian perspective. It's interesting, from the native Christian perspective, the Palestinian Christians.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting,
Yeah. Which is definitely a part that doesn't get talked about a lot, is the fact that Christians, Muslims, and Jews have basically all lived in the Levant basically for the past 2,500 years.
Yeah,
they've just kind of been there.
Sarah knows a lot about perennial philosophy. She knows a lot about old religions and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, her channel.
I've heard those theories before, the Seraphis thing before, but
yeah, she's got interesting PowerPoints and stuff on her channel. She's incredibly intelligent for sure.
Well, Frank, there are only 8 now because of redacted. So
only 8? What?
Just Frank making a dumb comment, so I responded flippantly.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
I'm going to wrap up soon anyway. We've been going over 2 hours.
Oh, shit. Long time.
And Talcott's streaming. And
I'm going to be up on there. Yeah.
What's his topic tonight?
Let me see if he has this little thing up.
It don't matter. It's all the same rhetoric.
Yeah, same. It's the same every night.
It should just say word.
No secrets, no wars. Someone else do it.
Well, I don't know if you guys know, but I'll be going on there sometimes.
Come on a horse. Feed your faith, and your fears will starve to death.
Yeah, I've gone crazy on those topics before at Jack Talcott show. I've gone in on those topics for real. Yeah.
Okay. We'll catch TML there later. Here, I can put the link.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be reviewing that debate later. What do you call it? The Adam Green debate.
What Adam Green debate?
They're having one on the Crucible. Adam Green. He kind of was. I guess Andrew Wilson was bugging him about a debate. So they're finally going to have one now on the End Times. So it's going to be an interesting debate. definitely relating to the content of my channel. So I want to. I mean, I'm gonna sit there and watch it anyways. I might as well just do it with the audience there.
Sure.
If anybody wants to.
Interesting.
All righty. Anybody else have anything they want to end with? Let's see. I'm trying to practice featuring each person. How do I do this? Solo layout. Redington, hi,
Well,
hello.
what the-
Anything you want to say?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, thank you for dropping in today. Let me figure out how
Went
to
ahead.
get you off.
Bacon
ahead and-
cheeseburger for dinner. I don't know. That's what I got.
A burger?
Ooh,
One you're
that sounds
making, or
good.
you got it from somewhere?
No, I'm getting it from a cafe.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Oh, we got Robert.
Hello.
Yo.
Hi, Robert.
What's up,
Bye-bye.
Robbie?
Hi. How you doing?
How are you?
I finally, I was rushing around, and I finally got you guys.
Are you the Robert
That
that's
like
always in the
button.
chat? The
Yeah,
Robert show?
I'm at the Robert Escobar show. Yes.
Oh, well, I'm honored. Good to see you.
Yeah, I just wanted to come on here real quick and introduce myself. I wanted to, chime in, when you guys were talking earlier, but it seems like you guys are shutting down right now. So I just wanted to introduce myself and see, this Sunday, I'm doing a panel on my channel. So I wanted to invite you guys. I don't know if you guys are interested.
Oh, yeah. What time?
At 6 p.m. Pacific,
Mountain
Standard Time.
What,
At the Robert Escobar show.
Yeah, put a link in the back, and I'll drop it in the chat for everybody.
All right. And the other thing is I wanted to mention is I feel like we all have our issues that we are interested in, and if we're ever going to solve any of these things, then we need to start talking about mutual aid. In this country, I think that money is power, and this is one of the reasons why we're stuck and we're not moving forward. We're just going left and right. So we need to get to the point where we're moving forward again and solve some issues. My big issue is healthcare. I think that we need to just get it done. We need to do single payer, and but that's a longer conversation. So. Yeah, so I think that we need to be working on mutual aid. For example, today, I don't know if you guys know who Tommy Temper is. I went on Tommy Temper's show, and I was talking to him because of one of the other streamers that I talked to, Hot Mess Summer. She's trying to get some cash together for a dress. She helps people on the streets. She gives them food, she gives them clothes, blankets, stuff like that. So. Let's work together, and see if we can help each other. I'm sure that we all share some of the same
community,
issues.
not commune, right?
You watch our stream?
I don't know, Robert. That sounds a lot like communism.
Provo, put it up in the back.
It's community.
Come
backstage and
That's I'm not, my thing is we need to get to the people that are checked out. I'm not trying
everybody
to,
think, I hear that a lot around here. I think everybody is very naive about we got to reach people and make them think a certain way, or make them wake up, or make them have a certain type of consciousness. And that's almost never effective in my attempt.
We can just do it
or insult them until they feel bad about themselves.
Here's what I think. I think that, stuff like Trump, stuff like, January 6th, stuff like Black Lives Matter, those are symptoms of a bigger problem. And I think that we can all acknowledge that, we can do better as a country. So if the conversation is just, what can we do, better, then I'm happy there. That's the start of the conversation. We just need to, move forward. I think we're stuck. What was the last big problem that we solved? What was the last protest that actually accomplished anything? So You know, right now there's the take our borders back protest, all those people, and they're just trying to raise awareness. So, you know, I don't think that raising awareness is going to solve a political issue like that. So, what can we do about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about like trying to solve things from the community level. That's my whole philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an
I will-
anarchist, so that's my whole thing is like structuring around creating better and more sustainable, equitable, and ethical communities.
Oh wait, who's talking? Let me feature you. There you go.
Oh, no, I'm on the spot. Yeah, no, I think
The wrap up.
I largely agree with you, Robert. I mean, I think I can offer the thing that we're all, I guess, frustrated about goes back to capitalism, but that's a much deeper and broader conversation.
Yeah, I think we
Okay,
need to
well, thank
evolve.
you. We
You know,
appreciate you
maybe
coming on the show today and giving your
yeah,
contributions and your many
yeah, maybe
opinions.
we need to evolve. Maybe a consumer-based economy isn't the best economy. You know, maybe we need
Oh
to,
Lord. Well,
think of
Talcott's streaming
some.
in about half an hour. Have you
Yeah,
been on yet?
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. That would be a
I'm
great.
not. I'm not anti-capitalist. I just think that there are certain things that should be socialized, like healthcare. So,
I'm
you know.
actually,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually agree with you.
I'm very open to that. I'm in
Yeah,
one of the
I
expanded
know most people
meditations.
are,
I've seen
and
the
so
Because I
and
think me and you agreed in the comments like
Yes.
yesterday. I think I was saying that I don't that you said that healthcare shouldn't have a profit motive, and I've been saying that. That's what I've been saying for
Yeah,
ever since
let's socialize
my
access
earliest
to
stream. The
NSA
first thing I ever did
backups.
with Jeff. That's what I was talking
Let's
about. So
socialize NSA backups. I should be able to use the NSA to store my backups since they're going to store my content anyways.
Here,
I should
this
be
is
able
your
to
wrap
do the
up.
stores from the NSA since they're saving everything already, right? So let's socialize the NSA.
the NSA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually for that. Yeah, I think that's fine.
That's a hot
Do you have
take.
anything else to close with, Hank?
That's good enough.
Just your wrap up. Okay. There we go.
So
Yo,
socialized cloud storage.
yeah, that'd make a dope ass like sweatshirt or some shit. I think Hank should get on that shit or socialize the NSA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be-
Machine, what
Right.
you got this weekend? I saw you were streaming this morning.
Yeah, the morning stream was mainly addressing some drama shit that's fucking going on with these guys where they're trying to talk about me all night long or whatever. That somebody woke
Toilet
up.
bowl at them again still.
Yeah, again, the same shit again, same shit, different toilet. And then I was just like sitting there, I was like, oh my God, you know. So I finally decided to make a little stream about it because it's just been like fucking 10 times they fucking hit me up on this shit. Last 2 times I was like, I just sent ABT a message. I'm like, that was funny. And then he like sent me back a really cunty message and like put like a fucking he put a picture of me, which I used as my thumbnail, and it said Dune Coon on it. And I was like, what the fuck is this
Oh
shit?
my God.
So yeah, so then I fucking made a little show
So
about
pathetic. It's so
That sounds
pathetic.
super racist.
It is.
Yeah, I
It's
made
super
a little
racist.
It
show
is
So
really
pathetic.
racist.
I'm just saying he's
Yeah,
such a
they have
pathetic fucking.
Well,
yeah, they
I
have
saw
a
him
form
like
of a troll.
try to have
Yeah.
Rant on, and he kept backstaging Rant, and
they
that
have a
makes me like
custom
Rant even more than I already didn't like him. And
that's what I'm telling you. See, this is
like,
what I was telling you
Toilet
guys. I
bowl
was
is
like,
making me have sympathy for Rant.
I knew it all along though. I was like, I know that. Like, see, I'll be peeping like how people are gonna interact with each other, and I already knew you guys are gonna like them. Like over time, once you compare them to other people, like you'll like the shit out of them because it's just like, I gotta hold everybody to like the same standard. So then once I do that, it's like shit. A lot of these people, it's like they're way better than the other motherfuckers.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true,
Yeah.
man.
Well, Catch Machine tomorrow. He'll be streaming for his usual weekend show. And
Yeah, bless you guys. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, brother Robert. I subscribe to you, and I look forward to talking to you soon, my friend.
Yeah.
Hell
Me
yeah.
too.
Thanks for having me up too.
Yeah, this
Absolutely,
is
Jeff.
Chopper
Oh, let
Jeff.
me.
Jeff and his dogs play
Yeah.
video
Hell
games and do stuff.
Probably gonna be playing Starfield later.
I got to work tonight, so probably not for too long. But my pizza is delicious, and Lib, it was good having a conversation with you. I mean, we got to talk a little more and try to pick each other's brains a little bit. And you know, I feel like
video games together.
Well, thank you. I feel like our conversation, even though we should fundamentally disagree, I still feel like there's a lot in common there. So, and we didn't get into ad hominems and stuff, and that's always a good conversation.
Here's an ad hominem for you.
Gamer.
Boom. Stream ruined.
Is that even an insult? I mean,
yeah, I was about to say, gay people are superior to straight people. So.
That means I have good fashion sense, and I'm happy.
Exactly.
I'd also like to say that I really do respect people who are willing to come up here and show their face and, you know, tell, you know, people what they think and, you know, have them be trolled and stuff like that. You know, I think that,
absolutely. We definitely appreciate that.
You know, we live in a system that, you know, you can be canceled for saying the wrong things. So there's a lot of people who hide behind anonymity, and you know, why are you hiding if we're free, and you know, you shouldn't be afraid to say the things that you want to say, right? So
we worked it out, Joe. We have an arrangement. We have an understanding.
Yeah, there's already an arrangement, so don't worry about it, Joe. You got here a little late, Joe. That's all. We're wrapping up.
Who didn't go yet? Okay, Chris, this is your wrap up.
Oh, okay. You know, I'm here with Jeff every day. Usually at 2. I've had doctor's appointments the last couple of days, so I've been here too. But you know, shout out to everybody out in the comments out there. Sarah, I went ahead and subscribed to your channel and stuff like that. You should come up on the panel sometime. Like to talk some of that stuff with you. And everybody else out there, like, thanks for coming by. Thanks for coming to the panel as usual. Like, you know, it's slow. We've been slowly growing this channel, and it's starting to actually pick a little bit of steam up here and there. So good to see it, and it's always good being here. And this stream is like my my living room, my yeah. This is like my comfort zone. Really, literally,
the day room at the old folks' home.
if you just
maybe it's like that. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for being here. We'll be here again tomorrow. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I think I got everybody.
Not NeuroJack.
Oh, did I forget NeuroJack? All right, this is your wrap up. What do you want us to know? What are the serpent people currently up to?
NeuroJack doesn't believe in lizard people.
He did when Rant was ranting about them. He did. I guess we'll never know. Thank you for being here, and we'll do it again tomorrow.
Looks like he's in a bad reception.
It's going through a tunnel or something right now, I guess. I don't know.
Group therapy is a good way.
The best for last. Okay, well, like I said, we'll be here tomorrow again, and there's plenty going on tonight in the streets. So
in these streets, in these YouTube streets,
yeah, maybe see you at one of them. I might hop on one of the ones tonight.
After we
finish
the show,
we'll see you tomorrow.
The show we're watching. Yeah.
The weekend.
All right, guys. See you later. Bye.
See y'all.
See you.
Thanks,
Robert. Take care.
Yeah, no problem.
Liv,
nice
Jeff,
meeting you.
Redington. You too.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Adieu. Hey. All I got to.